We had been told by the Israeli government that we would not be allowed to go into the Gaza Strip or indeed to meet with the Israeli government if we did not give a commitment not to meet with Hamas. And of course we didn't give that commitment. We said we honoured all electoral mandates and we would not give any commitment if people wanted to meet with us that we would meet with them. We then, after a lot of difficulty, went into the Gaza Strip. When you come to leave Israeli territory, the border crossing is very like a modern airport structure. It's all glass and very, very modern. But nothing prepares you when you go through this sanitized zone for what you meet on the other side. And what you have to factor in is that they used fighter planes to drop a huge amount of tonnage on residential areas. There is no free entry in or out. People from Gaza cannot move in and out, and people from Israel cannot move in or out. So what you have is essentially an open air prison. I think it's about the size of County Louth. I don't think it's any bigger than that. So you can imagine County Louth just as a big long cache. That's what you're talking about.
We are depending on.
And we met private sector, we met bankers, we met factory owners, we met women's organisations, we met community activists, we met all the political parties, Fatah and Hamas included, and some of the smaller groups. We met a whole pile of Palestinian agencies. We also met in Gaza City itself, the city council. We met their assembly team. Their parliament building was bombed.
And can I say, first of all, that the vast majority of people in Ireland, and certainly the people who we represent in Ireland, think that what happened here is totally wrong.
We also met with educationalists. We met the heads of all of the universities. A number of the universities were also bombed. One university, ironically the American university, no longer exists. Others were hit, but the damage wasn't as extreme. We also visited hospitals. Some of them were also hit. There's also an embargo on the Gaza Strip, which means that medical supplies and medication are restricted, and also parts for very, very important medical machines, particularly to do with cancer treatment. A number of them aren't working. We met a number of patients in the hospitals, very strikingly and very movingly, people who I'd be very, very surprised if they survived a week after we left. And we were there under the auspices of UNRWA, which is the United Nations Relief and Works Agency. And that we were there, they facilitated the meeting. So when we were going in, they brought us in. But when we were coming out, they weren't allowed to bring us out. And we had to come out the hard road. And it's a surreal experience. There is no human contact as you're coming through. Now, most people here, older people here, will have gone through the long cache and other security arrangements. This is totally surreal. There's a voice talks to you. This voice directs you, and you have to go through a whole process of gates and locks and so on. And of all the places of incarceration that I have been in, this was quite unique and bizarre. My notion of the visit, I had been there 2.5 years previously, is that the situation is worse now than it was 2.5 years ago. Gaza Strip was very, very prosperous. Gaza is a very, very intense agricultural area, and they actually export flowers and vegetables. All of that has stopped. The settlements, when you talk about settlements, you get, if you talk about settlements of people, you might have the notion of sort of some Wild West, assortment of prairie farmers coming together. These are huge settlements. These are the size of Bangor. These are huge 6, 7, 8-story buildings. These are modern buildings, totally in contrast to the refugee camps. And the wall, the separation wall, also just cuts through. And what they have also done is that they have built roads from settlement to settlement, and Palestinians aren't allowed in those roads. So even farmers whose land the roads may go through are forbidden. Now, we were only there for 4 days, so it'd be an exaggeration to say that we have the pulse of opinion, but I can't stress how many people we met. My view overwhelmingly is that people want a settlement. They want things sorted out. And certainly the majority of the Israeli people that we met, and they are admittedly progressives, also want a settlement which enshrines the rights of the people of Palestine. And they said that. There is clearly a political will. It's actually a peace process waiting for a leadership in many ways. From the Palestinian position, it's a process without peace. From the international situation, it is a disgraceful violation of international law and of the rights of Palestinian people. The settlements are illegal. The wall is illegal. The attacks in Gaza, in my opinion, are illegal. The embargo on Gaza is illegal. All in breach, clear breach of international protocols, international laws, human rights, and United Nations regulations. And for the world to allow that to happen, or for the West to allow that to happen, is in my view shameful. We told people that we met that we would produce a report and that we would give it to all of the governments in that region, and to the United Nations, and to the European Parliament, and to anybody else within the international field. I do think that President Obama's speeches and the position he has set out are a marked departure from US policy thus far. And I've also talked to Senator Mitchell. I welcome very much his appointment, and I've given him a copy of this report. I've talked to him a number of times, actually, since we came back. So I think that those are two pivotal people, because the biggest international player is the US administration. We make no bones about it. We're not enemies of the Israeli people. We clearly believe in a two-state settlement, but the Palestinian people have right to their own state. And then you have to add on adjectives: viable, sustainable, proper state. I also came away with a profound sense of how lucky we are here to have come as far as we have. I was about in August '69, which is probably the biggest communal upset and devastation, and some of you we're marking it this year. Bombay Street and Divis Street and Hoover Street and so on. Gaza is that 1,000 times worse. Can't stress how bad the situation is. And because the media aren't watching it, it doesn't mean it's still not going on. I would actively encourage people to involve yourself in solidarity activity, to shine a light on what's happening, and to use whatever influence that you may have to raise a profile on this issue. It is my certain view that there will be a fairly sizable effort to resolve matters in the upcoming period, and we cannot contemplate failure.